This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, Francis.
Just a moment, my boy. Okay, go ahead.
Following on the conversation in which you read Robert Adams' statement, I've been thinking about the term benevolent indifference, and I just wanted to tell you how I'm using and interpreting it. Benevolent, I think, means goodwill towards whatever the situation is, without necessarily having any agenda about what it is, how it will turn out. And therefore, the indifference is not attachment to the outcome. So that I've been thinking about that. It helps me. It's kind of like a touchstone, if I'm interpreting it correctly. But because I was thinking about each body-mind would, depending, I suppose, on the depth and the stability of their understanding, it's very conceivable that two different people, so body minds, if you will, would come to the same situation and make a decision that would be different, because awareness is free. Am I making any sense? I guess I'm thinking specifically, you were talking about, I don't know, for instance, you talk about voting, how you feel about it. And myself, I don't want to do, I'm going to do that because Francis is doing that. That's not particularly intelligent, I wouldn't think. So I'm sorting out. That's just one example of two people who might come to the same event and still, from their own truth, there's only one truth, but do you mean their own understanding of how that is, might come to follow different actions. Does that make sense?
Yes, my not voting also is part of. Actually, I welcome people from
Yes.
all persuasions in these meetings. So if I would say I vote for Trump, I would alienate the people who don't like Trump. If I would say I vote for Biden, I would alienate people. So because of my job, if you will, I, I don't vote. I love everybody.
No,
But if I had to vote, I would definitely try to vote for someone I like, for a person rather than for an ideology. But that's
right.
because ideologies, let's put it this way, would I prefer having a jerk with a right ideology or having an honest man with integrity and compassion without an ideology?
Oh, I don't think there's any, at least in my mind, there's no question about that. I guess
Yeah.
what
So what it boils down to really is how we assess the level of freedom of that person, the level of impersonality of a candidate. And it's very difficult if you feel that you have a choice between two rotten scoundrels.
Yes. I guess what I've been struggling with was in terms of that specific kind of event is if am I really voting? Okay, is it possible to not vote for how do I that a vote in this particular event would influence more than just the person without actually, although the ideology may be very flawed, I'm wondering if it would affect other things like I don't know, the a Supreme Court judge or things like that, that would affect more than just that person without any illusion that that person or the ideology were unflawed. And if given the chance, if there was a candidate who was, as you said, honest and good, then there's no question. But if there isn't, and it's going to unfold in one way or another, then I guess I'm questioning how I'm thinking about it. It seems like it would affect more than just the person who gets into office, but even because of a flawed ideology, some of the decisions that they would make might be what I would feel would be more in line with peace.
But my tendency would be not to worry for the ideology and my own tendency, and to assess the integrity and the impersonality of a candidate. In other words, is this guy there to make money, to protect his friend, his family, his children, or is this guy there because he wants to do what is good for America, for the people who he has to make decisions for, and that would be my. In other words, it boils down to the level of impersonality, but I'm not really interested in that because there is one thing that I every time I detect partisanship and identification with an ideology on the left or on the right, I smell ignorance.
Yeah, what do you think?
You see? And so I become the devil's advocate for the other position because, and since most of my friends are Democrats, they force me to be the devil's advocate for the other
Yes.
position.
Mhm.
And, but truly, I don't care. I think they are both dirty, rotten scoundrels, if you
Yes.
will. So that's that's the way I feel about these
Well,
guys. I mean,
I brought that up because it seems such an obvious thing for myself as someone who has always been very influenced by anyone I respect without questioning, without really taking a stand myself. That's why I was thinking about the benevolent indifference and how to really come to something for myself without.
the other question is about the voting is, should I vote? Should my vote be an expression of my own integrity and honesty, or should my vote be useful? In other words, because that's a little bit what you were saying.
Mhm.
I vote for scoundrels, I know, but I hope this scoundrels is going to push the things in the direction of my own ideology. You see, and
Yes.
since I am against any form of ideology,
Right.
I never share this useful vote thought. If I were to vote, I would vote for someone I feel is, so usually it would be a candidate who would have zero chance to get elected.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I I think I got stuck on benevolent indifference. First of all,
Or
because that,
let me tell you something about benevolent indifference. This term I coined, my teacher used to use the word welcoming. So it applies to how it applies to meditation and how we, I say, welcome all the appearances, the thoughts, the bodily sensations,
Mhm.
and the external sense perception with benevolent indifference. And in this context, benevolent means that you love them, you welcome them in. But indifference means you are not attached to them, meaning you
Yes,
allow for them to live. You are not sticky. Everything
yes,
comes, everything goes. And that applies to everything, especially to all belief systems and all forms of ideologies.
exactly. I think that's how I was thinking of it. Um, and that it wasn't just in meditation, so to speak, but with everything.
Yeah. Now, regarding benevolence, you see, benevolence, true benevolence, doesn't imply being nice to everybody.
No, no, I I understand that.
Benevolence sometimes requires to be harsh or to be. For instance, if there was a question when I read this paper, which is still there, from Robert Adams about the events in 1993 during the riots. I think I'm going to read it again because it's good. Many of you go home and you begin to think of the world. We fear the riots downtown, the rebellion. We never seem to understand that these things have been happening since time immemorial. There has always been man's inhumanity to man. There have always been, that's my ad, bad cops. There have always been riots, confusion, chaos. So there have always been looters. But my question to you is, what does this have to do with you? You profess to be a spiritual person. A spiritual person understands where the world is coming from. They neither hate it nor love it. They just watch and observe and look. They cannot have feelings for being good or bad because their feelings are steeped in godliness. Their feelings are always under reality. The feelings do not go out and say, this is terrible, this is wonderful, this is bad, this is good. This is how it should be, this is how it shouldn't be. These things are the images on the screen. Begin to see it this way. Your body and your mind are the things going on in the world. No, your body and your mind and the things going on in the world are the images on the screen that are changeable, never being the same. This is the way of the world. We build things, structures, edifices, monasteries, big buildings, big cities, and then they are all destroyed in due time. And we build them again, and they are all destroyed again. It's all a cosmic joke, but you are taking it seriously. As long as you are taking it seriously, you become part of it. You experience it. You go through it. This is why it is written, whom shall you follow this day, God or Mammon? Who shall you follow? The world and its peculiarities, this is Mammon, or the self, the absolute reality. The choice is yours. Do the right thing. Okay, so for instance, during the previous talk, I offended people. I didn't offend people. Ramana Maharshi
right.
offended people. Robert Adams offended people. And people were offended, for instance, because some person came here and said, well, I disagree with you because when you are subjected to racism, it's a totally different story. And because this gentleman has chosen to live in the West and belongs to a minority, and feels he's subjected to racism. And I'm not denying that, and as I told him, there are jerks everywhere.
Yes.
Now, if you want to live in the universe where there are no jerks, I think you should find a job as a cosmonaut, and work in space in the station on orbit, and perhaps the three of you up there are not going to be jerks. But welcome to the ordinary world. I have news for you. They are jerks. So if you cannot take jerkiness, you are not ready to come here and ask questions. Because the spiritual path requires a lot of courage, a lot of determination to let go of your belief system, to let go of your political belief system, of your religious belief system, or of your sociological beliefs, or of your cultural belief systems. It requires a massive dose of courage.
Yes.
And if you cannot take the heat, you are not ready. You know, the first question my teacher asked me when I met him, He asked me, are you economically independent? That was a weird question from a spiritual teacher. And I said, yes, I was. And he told me, good. And later on, I understand, having the opportunity to know exactly what he meant. And what he meant was simply this, that if someone was not able, didn't have the courage, it's not a question of ability. If someone disabled, it's a different story. But if someone young, as I was, and not stupid, is not able to make a living and to be independent from society, someone who is in his late 20s, right? He is not ready for this path.
Yes.
He doesn't have the determination and the courage. If he doesn't have the determination and the courage to get out of his bed in the morning and not be a charge for society, you know, there is no way he's going to be ready for that. No way. And here I am losing, I don't know, some of the friends here who have a hard time getting up from bed in the morning. It's not, no, let's put it this way. I understand everybody has a hard time, almost everybody, right? Getting up in the morning if you have to do some chores. But these chores are part of the yoga that life is offering us to grow in spiritually. So if going back to that, if you want to keep identifying with a person who is of this color or of this religion or comes from that part of the world, and keep playing the part of the victim, that's the important thing. You will find a lot of sadistic jerks out there who are going to be willing to play this game with you.
Yes.
You see? And you have to understand that. You have to understand, I am this beautiful self, and jerks and racists are yours. You know, you can tell me anything, I don't care. I don't give it, you can call me this and that. I don't give it a flying rat's ass. Now, if you punch me in the face, I kill you. That's a different story. It's a totally different story, right?
Right. Right.
But calling me names, I mean, grow up.
Good. I feel no resistance at all to what you're saying. I agree.
But I'm not speaking only for you. I'm speaking also
No,
for our friends.
I got that. I understood that. I'm not sure why I asked the question. I think it was because I'm trying to, I'm not trying, I want to make everything my, a true understanding of my own. Do you know what I mean? So that I can really live from it. And
yeah, but you know, the beauty is that what I give you is food for thought. I'm not telling you do as I do, and perhaps you know, I'm going to vote. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do
that's what I
tomorrow.
was saying. Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to say the next moment. You know, that's freedom.
It is. I think that's what I was just verifying for myself, that true freedom means two people could be presented with the same kind of situation, and each from their own understanding.
Absolutely.
That's all I was verifying for myself as someone who's
Absolutely.
coming, long time coming, but coming to that, to being able to stand on my own.
That's the beauty of it, because yes, because and that's why I'm not I'm naturally not prescriptive.
No, I noticed
You
that.
see what I mean? I don't tell people,
How could it
vote that way or don't
teacher
vote
be?
that way.
Right. No,
Well, many teachers are.
I don't know
Many
how that.
teachers tell their students you should marry. Paul,
No.
you should marry.
Yeah. No, I've been associated with things like that, and that's why I love you so much. One of the reasons, one of the many reasons.
Yeah, it's freedom, and you have to. When you are free from ourselves, it means we are free from our beliefs. That's why I don't know what I am going to, whether I'm going to vote or not. I can say, okay, right now, that's my idea, because right now I may change my mind.
I understand. Yes.
That's my female part. Now I have lost also all the feminists. Too bad. I mean, if you cannot take a joke, you have no place here.
Right. You know what I've been wanting to tell you ever since you told the story? It's like sometimes I just want to take your hand, like your granddaughter. I just thank you.
You know, I love teasing. That's something.
Yes.
That's the nature. I love teasing and poking.
I do too. I get it. I love it. Thank you.
You know, it's like little boys and little girls. You know, they love teasing each other.
Yes. There was an old movie called Bongo the Bear, an old movie. It was like that. It's like, but that's what bears and little boys and girls do.
You see, I miss having had a little sister.
Ah. Thank you.
I have something.
Okay, go.
Just on sort of on this topic. To me, it was really helpful to see your opposition to my beliefs. Actually, at the time, I remember I really disliked Trump, like most people, and then seeing you speak in the opposite way, I realized just how stupid it was that I would dislike someone like that over the way that it just didn't make sense. So trying to apply what I have heard just as an experiment, even just to say I am Trump and Trump is me. It was really hesitant. I was really hesitant. It was almost like I don't want to do this because it just there's just like such a big resistance to even try to see it, to even try to make myself see this. But at some point, the moment I said it, even meant just as a thought, it was so strange because it was like this huge relief from this idea that I'm somehow better, or I was somehow better, he was somehow worse. So I think it's really helpful to see the opposite view.
Well, it's not, but I don't like Trump. Trump is not smart enough to know that he is not smart. That's one problem. I mean, he thinks he's the smartest,
Yes.
the
But
smartest person in the world, and he doesn't have the minimum threshold of intelligence to know his own limitations. I think Einstein knew he was not necessarily the smartest person in the world.
yes. Well,
But he was smart enough to know that. But on the other hand, the guy has courage. You cannot deny that. He has guts.
it was just this weird idea that I was somehow it was somehow worse than me in a sense. Then I realized I wasn't even really trying to apply the things that I listened to here. I was like, this is kind of stupid that I go on this way. It's like, what's even the point if I'm not if it doesn't apply to everything, then it's kind of then I'm just stupid. So anyways, I noticed how interesting it was to just the slightest effort of trying to apply this. There was like a relief.
Yeah, to be, it's okay to form opinions. It's stupid to be attached to them.
Yes, yes, and now
All,
sorry, go ahead.
all opinions have to be, expendable and open to being revisited, and because everything changes, everything evolves. This world
Yes,
is just a mirage.
yes. And I noticed too, which is really interesting. It's almost as if I was sort of blinded to actually seeing the sort of humanity of him, because sometimes I would see him on the news and he would like walk away from, I don't know, from talk, whatever, and then I just feel like he's kind of sad. I don't know, I just sense a sort of sadness to him, but I couldn't even really see that. Um, uh, just an aspect of that was totally blinded to me because I just didn't like him, and then the attempt to see him as myself sort of makes something more visible about the other that was just absent at the time of really ignorance. I think it was.
Yeah, it's good to see the humanity in people, because when we see what we call the humanity, in fact, we don't see their humanity, we see the consciousness in them. That doesn't mean, if we see that this guy is fit to be president of the United States.
Yes. Yes, but this was leading on to the question. It was actually a question I had from what you were reading on Robert. I've always what really attracted me to this teaching was this, what all sages sort of portrays, this sort of carelessness with things, like this benevolent indifference of really not caring, not necessarily caring, but things as not being important at all. But this is not the outcome of attempting, right? There is no really point of me trying to not care of things. It is sort of a byproduct of
It's a
understanding.
natural, and it is, this indifference is at the very core of our being. When we are in a given situation, we deal with the situation as if it mattered. You see, in a given context, when life presents us with a situation in which we have to make a decision, in which we have to do something, to say something, then we have to do and say as if it mattered, knowing that ultimately it doesn't. But it is always imprudent to decide ahead of time what we are going to do or say in a given situation, because life is going to change the context to prove us wrong.
Can you say that again? Just say it is important to not prepare?
No, it is imprudent. It is not wise. It is unwise to decide ahead of time what we are going to do in a situation and stick to it.
Yes.
Because life is going to adjust the context, to force us, in fact, to adjust to the situation, to give us this flexibility, this plasticity
I see.
of going with the flow of life.
Yes.
That's why I would vote rather for a person who has inner integrity and who is intelligent and who is of goodwill and has no ideology, rather for a jerk with an ideology I like.
I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Francis, can I ask a question?
Please.
It's kind of a segue though, unless you want more political talk. This is not that.
No, I don't.
Good. Well, you've only gained people in the last 20 minutes, so.
And by the way, it was not political talk.
Yeah.
It was not. It was a philosophical talk about politics, but it was not political talk about who we should vote for or what we should do in the city.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I kind of just want you to check my experience and make sure I'm not like totally off-roading here. So it's become really obvious to me in the last like week that I'm not my mind or my thoughts. Like there seems to have been like this space, more space that's obvious between me and my thoughts. And I have also noticed that I was using a lot of the aphorisms and the things that you say that at one point and for a while would take me to the experience of myself. I was using them sort of as like a coping mechanism to avoid being. It was like like they say, like you take the canoe across the river, but then you can't carry it on your back. It kind of felt like that. Or it just became obvious that I was using it as like a coping mechanism, as opposed to, because every time I would be in this space of openness, of real not knowing, a lot of fear would arise and agitation would come up. And that's kind of where I'm at now, is because the last 2 days sharing with friends about this, I've had the courage to not pick up these sort of thoughts or really it's all thoughts, but it's figure it out thoughts mostly about the truth. It's like things that you would say that would keep me like ignoring the fear based, like it's just like things that I was using to avoid feeling the raw physical sensation. And also the fear that I feel is not different than the thoughts that I let go of. Like it's not any more real than the thoughts that I'm now not choosing to chase after. So I just want to make sure I'm not like totally delusional or making stuff up. And whatever you have to say about that, I'd love to hear.
Regarding the fear, it's important to be able, when you see the word fear, to connect with fear. And as an actor, you see, you know that, if you have to play fear, there are two ways to play fear. One is to picture your body and your face as if you see it in the mirror and you have practiced in the mirror, playing this
Faking
scene.
it. Yeah.
And that's obviously the wrong way to do it. Because the correct way is to remember, even if you are no longer afraid, remember how it felt deep inside, because then you connect with sensations that are much, much deeper in you. And then you allow from that deep inside for all the wave of it to move to your face, to your throat, to your wherever. And then it will have this authenticity, and at the same time, it's minimalism of expression that are the quality, right, of a good actor. But in fact, when you do that, you're not afraid. Because you are distancing yourself, but you go to a source in you, and because you are an actor. And that's a path, because then, since you have the ability to go to this source in you, in this, what I call the source, it's in fact kind of a root fear that you can connect with. But if you can connect with it, then you can really, instead of starting from there and allowing for it to express itself in the rest of the body as you do in acting, from there to simply watch it and go upstream towards even the source that you have left yet unexplored. So instead of allowing for it to go downstream as you do in the process of acting, to go to the same place of the root fear and look at it as if you were a biologist or scientist, looking at a phenomenon, and take a good look at it. Take a good look at it, because then you will see that it is just bodily sensations.
Well, I can already see that. I can really, I mean, it's the same thing with like, once I see something, I'm automatically already outside of it. Do you know what I mean? But
yes.
I guess I just like, for the past couple of weeks before this whole sort of aha moment happened, I had been really feeling this like background of peace that was just not like absolutely nothing to do with anything I was doing. I was just like going about my day, being myself, and feeling a lot of moments of really like almost like tranquilizer level peace, like, and this doesn't feel that way. So I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't like, this feels like just like a lot's coming up. It just feels like it's a lot of physical sensation and energy that's like, I don't know. I just want to make sure I wasn't.
Yeah. But as an exercise, as a yoga exercise, it may be interesting for some time to invoke fear, because although we understand it and we experience it, I'm not saying intellectually, but the first time we see it, the same mechanism can come back and kind of take us unaware, you see, and we buy into them again. Although later on we understand, okay, no, that was again the same. That was the same business. So I'm beyond that. I've been there, done that. I know that. But it may be interesting to invoke this primal fear and to not to try to get rid of it, just to contemplate it, to know it very in its fullest intimacy, and to know it fully, so that the look we take at it is so good, so precise, so detailed, that every single aspect of it is known. We know exactly where it is localized in the body. We know exactly which organs of the body are involved, that we take a very detailed picture of it. And to do that, several times, not to live in fear, but on the contrary, so that when the same set of symptoms, if you will, subreptitiously occurs, and we notice it, or then we are non-territory, no big deal. You see what I mean? Just bodily sensations.
So I shouldn't be worried that it's less, since it's less peace, it's not the right direction. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't.
Well, if there is less peace,
I'm believing to be the sensation, and therefore.
well, normally in your life, you should have the feeling that you are converging towards more peace and harmony.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Otherwise, it means you're not on the path in a proper way.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been happier in my life. So don't, I mean, really.
Good. Now, what happens when we are on the path is that life challenges us. It's like if you can jump on that height, you know, then life raises the bar a little higher up until we can jump above it, and then a little higher. So life offers us all kinds of gradual yoga exercises. So if we see this increase in the yoga exercises as
opportunity,
an increase in disharmony, then we are having the wrong interpretation. It's just that we are moved from Advaita 101 to Advaita 201.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Francis, hi, sorry. Piruz, do you want to go ahead, or I think we spoke at the same time?
Okay, Piruz, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so thank you. Regarding this bar being raised, the challenges being raised, that is exactly what happens. Is, you know, yoga exercises, opportunities are left and right. But there comes a point that one feels there's no need to even engage it, and it's not one of shying away from it, but I can't explain it. I don't want to say it's useless, but it's so trivial to want to even engage it. I don't know if that is the correct term to say that or not.
Oh yes, yeah, but then it's not a problem. But I was not referring to this type of challenge. I'm referring to a type of challenge like you have an accident, or you.
Oh, I see.
All of a sudden you have a health problem, or your partner breaks up, or a loved one passes away. I mean, these are, or you're fired from your job, or these are challenges that you didn't choose. Life chose them for you.
But you see, as I face each one of these, and it's amazing that many of what you just listed is happening, but each one of them, when I sit with them, all it brings is me closer to me. You see what I'm saying? The content of it doesn't matter. It's the it's the intensity.
If you welcome those with benevolent indifference, you'll be a man, my son.
Okay.
How does it go? If you welcome these two liars with the same man, it's a poem by Rudyard Kipling, I think, yes. So he was very much into Indian philosophy, so he knew. Like fortune and misfortune, if we welcome them with the same equanimity, yeah, then that's wisdom. That's
So that's not really hiding in Advaita to avoid challenges. Sometimes I get that. I mean, this crazy thought that comes to me. Then you're hiding away from challenges of life by wanting to be one with them, which is not really true. But see what I'm saying?
yeah. It's okay to avoid challenges that you don't have to face. That's wisdom.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
You don't, for instance, there is no point seeking the company of jerks.
Yes. Who push you into ignorance? Yeah.
Yeah, there is no point going to all kinds of bars or places to seek the company of jerks. But on the other hand, if jerks come into your life and you have no choice in your profession, in your family, and you have responsibilities, then these are the exercises, the challenges that you have to face. So we don't have to worry. In other words, life always has a very good supply of yoga exercises for us.
Indeed.
That we don't have to do overtime. You see what I mean?
Indeed. Yes. Thank you very much, Francis. Sorry, Sopa, go ahead.
No worries. Thank you very much. Hi, Francis. How are you? So I've got a comment and a question. So the comment is, over the last couple of sessions, I think it's been really refreshing to hear your perspective on what's been going on in the world. So I work for a pretty large multinational company which has a diverse workforce, and I think, you know, what you've been saying is so relevant and yet so effective. I wish, you could do a talk at where I work. I mean, because what we do is today, what you said about forming opinions is good, but attaching to them is a disaster, because, that's when you create biases. And then what we do is we spend millions of dollars creating courses called unconscious bias and conscious bias and whatnot, which is essentially a cover your ass exercise, in my opinion. Doesn't really help.
Exactly.
So it was really, really great to so thank you very much. It was great. Now the question I have is more towards consciousness, and I'm trying to figure something out. So if we consider the universe from a physics perspective, it is believed that there was the Big Bang which triggered the origin. And prior to that was this gravitational singularity which contained time, space, energy, and all of that. And we also know that the universe is constantly expanding. It's measured by distances between two gravitationally unbound points in time. Now,
and accelerating,
right? And amongst all of this, various events occur. Stars are born, they die, black holes, nebulas, baby universes, whatnot. But the universe doesn't really know where it came from, doesn't really know where it's going. It doesn't really give a shit. It doesn't care. All it does, it silently observes. Now, if I consider that the self, or the big I, is the same as the universe, as is taught in my philosophy, infinite and unbound, consciousness may actually be deemed as the universe looking at itself or observing itself.
Yes.
So my confusion is, do we really need to inquire to realize our true nature, or just silently observe? Because silent observation is effortless, while inquiry requires effort. And the true disposition of consciousness, again, is effortless. So what I feel is that the true purpose is really silent observation, which effortlessly leads to realization. It's not about trying, not about conceptualizing, searching for, answers and labels, happiness, peace, bliss, all the, words that have been, nicely put together in the Oxford English Dictionary. Happiness is essentially a byproduct of this silent observation. So this is where I am. And I guess the dilemma or the quandary is, what is really the goal? Silently observe and automatically come to the realization, or really inquire, which requires some effort when you really don't have to, if in this context?
Well, definitely inquiring with effort is a no-no. Now, effortless investigation is something else, because if effortless investigation is that which prevents itself, not to investigate then will be an effort. Are you with me on this one?
Sorry, could you please repeat that last sentence?
If effortless investigation out of the sense of interest, of love, is the type of activity that offers itself in the moment. We are interested. I have a question. I want to know this. I want to try this. I've heard that, but I wonder. So I want to reflect about this. Now, if that is the activity that presents itself,
right,
to refrain from doing so would be an effort, correct?
Absolutely.
So then the point I'm making is this, is that we cannot say that meditation is either passive or active, because absolute passivity may require an effort. So true meditation is absolute effortlessness, absolute spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
That includes both passive observation, but that includes also activity of the human body-mind. What is truly absolutely passive observation is the awareness aspect. Awareness is on 24/7, and awareness is this constant presence that welcomes everything and that doesn't prevent anything from, doesn't want anything, doesn't seek anything, is just there. So that's, but within this observation of this openness, there can be activity of the body-mind. And these activities from the body-mind can come from two different types of motivation. One type comes from fear and desire due to ignorance. Another type is spontaneous activity, which is effortless and joyful.
Right. No, I understand. I mean, so for example, I mean, when I was kind of thinking about the question that I asked you, there wasn't really much effort in it. You know, it's something which I really enjoyed. Yes, I see what you're saying, but I wonder, I mean, so if awareness, which is also, I presume, synonymous to reality, um, is what we are in a way, constantly on, and it is in a way passive. It's impersonal. It's always there.
Its awareness aspect is passive,
I
but
see.
there is another aspect of reality which is not passive.
Which is the body-mind component?
No, which is a manifestation component, and that includes the body-mind, of course. but which is the Shakti, if you will, element, the Lila element, the manifestation of shapes and forms, the Namarupa element.
Right.
You see, we have to stay away from any form of limitation. If I understand, your question came from a theoretical vantage point, which is yes, since we are already awareness and reality, all we have to do is to be that, and being that implies doing nothing because we are that already. So it's pure, we are pure contemplation, but that's already the case. The rest, the activity of seeking or investigating comes only from the vantage point that there is a goal to achieve. And this goal to achieve, and that's an interesting aspect, this goal to achieve can be either goal which is motivated by ignorance, or a goal which comes from intelligence. For instance, someone who is a musician can practice his scales and arpeggios because he has as a goal to improve his musical skills. And there is nothing ignorant in that. You see, there is nothing ignorant in this endeavor because it comes from his joyfulness, from his sense of celebration. Or in the same way, a truth lover may do yoga because, or may think about the truth because, in fact, the goal is to liberate the mind and the body from residues of ignorance that are memorized in the neurons and also in the muscles and in the rest of the cells of the body. The goal is similar to the musician, which is to, the body-mind is almost like an instrument that we are tuning so that this instrument can play more in tune with the universal orchestra, if you. That's a legitimate goal because the purpose is not personal. The purpose is a celebration.
Now that absolutely resonates with me. Thank you very much, because I actually practice an Indian classical instrument. So when I'm playing that, it is something which exactly what you just described. I'm not going to repeat it. It is exactly that, effortless. But I think when you're kind of like trying to do the inquiry because you feel that you have a lack, and that's where ignorance comes in, I think. Because you're trying to satiate, like, why am I unhappy bullshit? And that is the problem.
It has to be exactly with the same spirit as the one you just touch upon when you practice, or moreover when you play your instrument, when you play your raga, you know, and you are inspired on that morning. I want to play a rain raga because it's raining outside, and so that's what I feel, right? And so yes.
Thank you very much. That definitely helps. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hi, Francis. I have a question. Hi. I'm not very articulate about this, but this has to do with the Robert Adams code. So I've been thinking about this as a kind of an inner struggle. And the dilemma is, you know, we speak of the world as a mirage. I resonate with that, and I think that has really informed my life in huge ways. And I feel more and more that it also calls for uh, a different kind of participation in my own life and in the world. And I wonder sometimes that if, as you just said, that there is a certain courage that is needed to really kind of see the mirage and live with it. And at the same time, I feel like it can also be taken as almost as a bypass, where now there is a lack of courage to participate. And it seems to be my experience in various levels of, like, at the individual level with in this body mind. I've been facing various health challenges, and I accept the mirage of life, and yet I also see this enthusiasm to want to solve the problem and to be healthy and feel strong and to enjoy life.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes.
And so those, I'm coming to accept that it's like I find that these two sides of the coin, if you will, are spontaneously, sometimes one is more available and sometimes the other is. And I don't make a problem of it, and I surrender sometimes fully, and at other times
No,
I enjoy.
Kenan, they are not mutually exclusive. When you take care of your body, you are doing the right thing. And when you're doing the right thing, it means you are doing yoga. So don't worry about that. And besides, in your case, you have all the courage which is required. So don't worry about that. I didn't say that for people like you.
Oh, thank you. No, I just wanted to kind of check with you.
It's a fact.
Yes, thank you, Francis. Yeah, I think also I asked this because this is something very active and alive, at least in my life's arc, and I don't know how to fully. Maybe I don't fully understand it, but just that it's just fine, and just take both of them. Maybe there's nothing to reconcile. Part of me was trying to reconcile it.
Ultimately, follow your bliss, follow your sense, be free, be independent, because be happy. It's only by being happy that you will make people around you happy, and that you'll be positive, you will exert a positive influence on the world. It's not so just even if you have the choice sometimes, and you say, okay, I will do something that I feel may be important for the world. And on the other hand, that's not what I want to do. And what I want to do is something stupid. Do the thing stupid. I observe in my case, people, they want me to write books. They help me to write books. I don't like that. So I'm very lousy with book writing. On the other hand, I enjoy playing tennis. What can I say? That's what it is. I pay my dues to the world by doing what I love. For instance, as I speak, I love it. That's my way, that's my voice, that's how I sing. I don't sing in writing. And my singing on the tennis court is not that great, but that's a different story.
Yeah, thanks, Francis. So I guess another aspect of this, if I may quickly, of exactly the example you gave, and with the current kind of active situation that I haven't tuned into the webcast past couple of days, but all of the inflammation that is in the wider culture and the world, at how to, not so much how to, what I feel is that I, just like you said, I don't have a particular role that I see to play, but just at least acknowledge, there is an acknowledgement when it, you know, when I'm speaking to friends and stuff, or what I feel is injustice, and I'm okay with that being at that particular level, because in my context I see that seems naturally that is the role I'm playing right now. Would you have any comment on that?
I don't know what to say. That's my comment. You know, injustice, you know, do I think that a woman being raped and murdered, or a child for that matter being abducted, raped and murdered, don't I see that as injustice? Of course I do. And a man being killed by a police officer for slowly like that, it's total injustice, yes. That's what Robert Adams says. The world is full of injustice. It has always been the case. Full of these terrible scenes.
Right, and I guess that maybe clarifies my question a little bit more. Where
And the question is, does the police, for instance, create more injustice, or does it prevent more injustice? That's an interesting question. Does it have a function in society which is ultimately positive, or in terms of injustice, or negative? I'm not answering this question, but it's a good question. You know, after what I've said about murders of an innocent child, of an innocent woman, or a woman being beaten up by her husband, or all of that, and the police intervenes, and so we have to see as a whole. I don't want to reach any conclusion.
right. No,
It's up for everybody to reach their own conclusions.
I see what
About
you're saying,
injustice,
and
you know.
I don't know Robert Adams personally, or never spoke to him, but it's just that from what I'm hearing from you is, you know, you also have a, if I should say, not a stance exactly, but you often said animal eaters are killers or murderers, and there seems that there is, although that the world is kind of, there is the acceptance of the mirage, and at the same time somehow there is this participation as well, where we can enforce or hold on to the values of, you know, love, truth, beauty, justice, harmony, and that takes sometimes, I guess I was just bringing this forth, that I feel also takes courage, because sometimes it can be convenient not to say something or support something that is that seems to resonate, that it would be right. I'm not saying to take any position of any of these issues, because they seem to be, at least in my opinion, more complex, and not just a yes and no.
You know, for me, injustice, everything that comes qualifies as everything, any action or that comes from ignorance is unjust or unjust, is injustice. Of course, there are levels. So for instance, every racist comment or activity is unjust because it comes from identification with the human body mind. If we have awareness, we all share it. So Advaita is the best cure for racism because we share that, we share the same reality. And since you have participated in our meetings, you know that there is this quality of friends who find this beautiful love and friendship, and which is spontaneous. In other words, we don't have to say, oh, you are of this ethnic background, of this, we speak this language. And, you know, I like French people, or I like Indian people, or I like, that is artificial. People who profess, if you are not, if you don't have an ounce of racism in you, you don't have to say it. Because it goes directly from this knowledge that you and the other are the same awareness, are the same consciousness. That's the beauty of it. And the other will feel the same as you feel, because there is this deep honesty that we are the same. Beyond all the differences in ages, in intelligence, in economic means, in cultures, in all the differences. We are all different.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Francis. And yes, you know, spending all this time with you and with the Sangha, I do see that our little actions and our peace and even being quiet can have impacts that are hard to predict. You know, they are very potent, and can speak louder than actions. So thanks a lot.
Hi, Francis. Here is Isim.
Yes, Isim.
Hello. I wanted to follow up and give a short feedback about the last talk. I have to say you were right. I was totally wrong, and I see it, and I'm very grateful because this is a suffering history in my life for decades, and it could now find an end. And I'm very, very happy that I could see this. Really, Advaita is the solution. I have to say this. Okay, thank you. That was all.
You know, we have all experienced racism, but I remember I was driving, I was driving in Calistoga, and there was this American guy, and of course, I have some Italian and Spanish genes, and there was this American guy who told me, "You Mexican shit." You know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Francis, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes, please.
So how does the all-welcoming nature of awareness that we all are operate in the company of jerks?
Well, if you have to, if you don't have to be with them, you get the hell out of there. If you have to deal with them, then you do your yoga.
Okay, but I'm being half serious, half joking, but it's about sort of, if I am always categorizing people as, well, they're jerks and they're not, they're okay, they're not okay, then
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah. What I mean, if you observe a repetitive, ignorant behavior,
yeah,
that's what I mean. Ultimately, there are no jerks, but they are. So if you are in this welcoming, I don't necessarily mean you leave. Whatever the situation requires, we come to you in this context. Perhaps you'll say something, perhaps you leave, perhaps, as my teacher used to say, you will invite this person to have a cup of tea together.
right. So it's almost like, it seems, the way I can try and reconcile it is, maybe you start off all welcoming, even if I'm in the same room with Trump and Biden and any other scoundrels you can think of. I'm initially all welcoming, maybe, and then perhaps completely open, all welcoming, aware that I'm awareness, until I don't know, some dynamic manifestation of awareness tells me to get the hell out of there, or say something very blunt to somebody, or whatever. But it's all manifestations of awareness, huh?
Yes. I was trying to see whether we had an echo. Perhaps your speaker is too high
Oh,
in your computer.
sorry. Is that better?
Go ahead. Go. So, yes,
I mean, that's it, really.
there is an echo still. Alice, who is Alice?
Oh, hello. Should be.
Alice, can you, you had your mic on while I was talking with Judith. It may have been the origin of this problem. I don't know. Anyway, Alice, you want to say something? Sorry, Judith. You can come back if you want to.
No, well, I'll just finish quickly. I was going to say
Okay.
it seems, I mean, it seems very true to me that you can't live your life by recipes. I need to act in this way with these people and differently with those people, or whatever, and it has to be spontaneous. But I feel I kind of need to be completely open to begin with, even if it's only for a split second, before I act, basically. Otherwise, I'm giving in to prejudices or whatever. But
Well, but if you start like that, you may also take corrective action at mid-course, So there are all kinds of opportunities.
yeah.
You can say, oops, I'm sorry, I did that.
I often do. Yeah. Okay, thank
You
you.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
Only Trump never makes mistakes.
Thank you.
Francis?
Yes, Susan, yes.
I wanted to bring you back, if I could, to your earlier statements. And I was stunned how, when you were speaking about not caring what anybody thinks of you, how I was laughing and really enjoying you saying that. And at the same time, feeling this sadness that I would never feel that way.
Oh, you will grow up.
Oh, I'm just growing old.
It's because of fear. We are afraid, and so if we are afraid that if people have a wrong opinion of us, they will reject us. So we are pack animals, and then we'll be cast out of the pack, and we'll be left alone to die.
Yes.
You know, and that's the entire rationale beyond that. So I have news for you. In this society, it's unlikely to happen that you are going to die for that reason if people don't have a good opinion of you. You're going to survive that. You know that, right? So
Actually, sorry, Francis, but it's even more than that. It's like this desire for closeness, this desire for intimacy, this desire for getting along, that is like oppressive.
yeah, but what I was trying to show is the origin of this desire. Because, you know, a desire and a fear is the same. You cannot have, they are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have a fear without the corresponding desire. For instance, the desire for closeness with people is the fear of being rejected by people.
Yeah, I
right?
can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
So and why do we need closeness? Because we feel that we need protection, that we need, and so in a sense, that's why I say grow up. It's because we are still like children who need the protection of the parents, who need to be fed by the parents, and so, you know, only it's very rare for people to become really adult, because real adulthood is wisdom. So most people, they die children,
Yes.
never having reached adulthood, because adulthood is true independence, real adulthood. And if you're still worried about what other people think of you, that was my main worry. So I was an expert on that, because that's this problem, this psychological issue that put me on the path.
Yeah.
Because in social situations, I was shy. Because I was worried about what opinion people will have. And usually, unfortunately, what happens when you're like that is that people, they don't have a good opinion of you.
I know.
Whereas if you don't care, people like you.
Yes.
If you don't care what they think. You see what I mean? Because they feel this freedom in you,
Yes.
it makes them feel comfortable, and because it resonates with their own freedom. If you don't care about them, they don't care about if you don't care about them judging you, then they are not afraid of you judging them. You
That's
see?
right.
So it's conducive to a more fraternal, you know, a type of connection with people. And on the other hand, if you are afraid of people, you are kind of asking for them to play the part you want them to play. In other words, you're the victim, and that's the master-slave
Yeah.
a relationship that, who was it? It was Hegel who talked about that.
Yes. It's so fundamental. I mean, what you're talking about is fundamental. And I can also feel in myself this, like, it becomes a male-female thing. Like when I was listening to you, I was both attracted, amused, and resentful. You know, like, yeah, you're a man. You can talk like that, you know?
I'm not a man.
Yeah.
But yeah. But there is something I wanted to add, and from my own experience, is that when we observe psychological issues like that, there is no need to try to get rid of those, because it's in this case you are not focusing on the right problem. The problem is always ignorance. You know, it's always the belief to be this separate person. That's the source of all these ailments and illnesses. So really, we have to follow our interest for the truth, and in turn, that will, over time, without any effort on our behalf, that will eliminate the other problems, the other issues. You will realize at some point, oh yeah, in this situation 5 years ago, oh, I would have been petrified. Now I handle this guy with ease. You know, I was able to tell him, no, I don't care.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because after so many years and so many, I do feel stuck. I feel like there's this next step and I'm stuck.
Follow your interest for the truth. Follow, even if it seems a little abstract, a little theoretical. I mean, follow your interest. Follow, because each of us has that. We have that in us. Whatever interests you truly, you know. And even follow your interest. Eventually, it will take you to the right places.
Yeah. Thank you.
The only thing is, as soon as you discover that you are in the wrong place, don't stay there. Move on. You see what I mean? Move on.
Oh yeah, that's that. You know, that is such a big issue of like this loyalty and this, you know, adapting, and as opposed to like moving through. And sorry, made a mistake. I'm getting back on the train.
Yeah, you see, the beauty is to understand that we don't love people.
Yeah.
We love the awareness in people. We love the heart. We love the presence, you know, and that at that moment liberates you. I don't have to love people.
Yes.
And we don't hate people either. You see what I mean? We neither love nor hate people. We love awareness. We love the self in all beings.
Yes. That is so true. That is so true.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Thank you.